Tonight on 7 News Tasmania, a devastating overnight fire reduces a prominent waterfront business to a burnt-out shell. An unacceptable risk, salmon farms stripped of a controversial antibiotic permit. America widens its war on Iran, blowing an enemy warship out of the water, killing dozens. A world away, Iranians in Tasmania share stories of pain inflicted by the regime. Safe and sound Australians escaping the conflict zone touch down at home. And Canada's Prime Minister in Canberra, his message for middle powers to hold their ground in Donald Trump's chaotic new world.
This is 7 News Tasmania with Kim Millar.
Good evening. A prominent Launceston marine business has been razed, reduced to rubble in a devastating overnight fire. The flames so fierce, there was little firefighters could do to save the family-owned riverfront store.
A towering fireball, ferocious flames taking hold, explosions piercing the night sky. This midnight inferno tearing through a landmark boating business, Tamar Marine stood little chance as flames breached the building, reaching metres into the sky.
Flames were coming out of the windows.
The blaze turning the riverbank orange, this time-lapse capturing just how quickly it spread. Neighbouring businesses, Allmass Australia and an adjoining slipway warehouse also destroyed.
It went really quickly, so when our first crew arrived, the building was totally ablaze.
The fire so fierce it took crews more than 2 hours to contain.
The flames were intense. The way that they brought this fire under control over multiple hours was seriously impressive.
The complexity of the inferno forcing crews to take water from the Tamar River.
Required copious amounts of water. So we used the water in our trucks first, then we drafted from the river.
By daylight this morning, this. A family business reduced to smouldering rubble, their flag still flying, but close to 50 years of operations now in ruins.
It's an iconic building. Anyone that's been in this building, you just get amazed with how much gear is in there, and it's really sad to see that it's no longer there.
The community just as saddened and stunned.
Shocked. I come this way a lot to go fishing, and I always call in here to get a lot of fishing gear.
Offering their support for the impacted business and employees.
Kids were a bit devastated, and the people in there were so nice, like they were awesome.
Investigators are still trying to determine the cause of this fire, but what is known, the damage bill, which is expected to top $5 million.
Lots of hard work to begin to sift through the remains to uncover what caused this fire.
A business and community left shocked, hoping last night's loss is not the last we see of Tamar Marine. Victoria Reistow, 7 News.
A stunning about-face today by regulators over the use of a controversial antibiotic in Tasmania's salmon farms. A months-old permit to use florfenicol has now been suspended amid growing fears over its impact on our seafood exports.
Salmon farms have been dispensing florfenicol in pens to treat fish infected with the Rickettsia bacteria, but no longer. An emergency permit issued in November has been suspended indefinitely.
Detections in these non-target species creates a risk for trade. That risk is unable to be mitigated, and therefore we can't support the ongoing use of the permit.
The Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority permitted the use based on florfenicol being safe for the environment and people and having no impact on trade. But detections in rock lobsters 10 kilometres away mean they can't be exported to some markets.
It's a very safe antibiotic. It doesn't harm the environment in any way. It is just this trade issue that we have to navigate.
Environmentalists aren't surprised.
It was found 30 kilometres away from the nearest fish farm in Chile. And then shock horror, we have no idea how it happened to be found 10 kilometres in Tasmania's water.
The industry is working on selective breeding and a new vaccine to reduce reliance on drugs in the future.
In this sort of short term, we would still like access to florfenicol. It is the gold standard antibiotic for the disease that we're dealing with.
Marine researchers have been enlisted to trace how the drug made it so far from pens and how it could be contained in the future.
Until those answers are known and solutions are able to be put in place to protect those other commodities from being able to be impacted in their exports, then we have no other alternative but to stop the use.
Nick Kelly, 7 News.
The war in the Middle East is spreading, reaching closer to our shores tonight, with America sinking an Iranian Navy vessel in the Indian Ocean near Sri Lanka, and Iran firing on a US base in Turkey, pushing the conflict towards Europe and NATO.
The view through a submariner's periscope, the moment Iranian warship the Denner is destroyed. In international waters, it thought it was safe. It happened not in the Middle East but off Sri Lanka. Its navy scrambling to help survivors. 32 were rescued, 87 bodies recovered. The first ship sunk by a US sub since the Second World War.
It was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death.
While the leaderless nation's capital, Tehran, was pounded. The US claiming more than 2,000 hits, government buildings, the Revolutionary Guard headquarters, the National Police headquarters. The US long-range precision missiles are first. Tomahawk spotted in the air over a commercial ship bound for Iran.
America is winning. Decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy. They are toast, and they know it.
The Defence Secretary, cavalier, the White House releasing this video as if it's a game.
We're winning this fight.
Israel too bragging about its operations via memes.
Nothing beats a jet.
Donald Trump marking his own scorecard.
Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15.
But Iran still lashes out and the war continues its spread. The frigate Denner was sunk more than 3,000 kilometres from home, pushing the conflict toward our region. While Iran aimed a missile at US base in Incirlik, Turkey, a NATO member. Nuclear weapons are based there.
NATO will defend every inch of NATO territory.
Israel broadening its fight in Lebanon, its troops in fierce fighting with Hezbollah, the terror group's leader, has vowed to keep fighting. But as the bombing intensifies, Lebanese families are forced to flee the attacks. Around 80,000 now living in shelters, tents, cars. The war now escalating on all fronts.
So my message to Australia is to wake up.
Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister telling 7 News it's time for Australia to join the war.
I would expect Australia, with its long history of defending humanity and freedom throughout many wars throughout our history, I would expect them to actually join forces as well.
The Israeli government minister also had a message for Australians worried about the impact on fuel and gas prices, trade, travel and our security, insisting controversially that the war would be worth it in the long run.
They need to understand what could have come in the future, which would have been far more dangerous, which would have been much more economically costly as well.
And as the death toll mounts, 6 US victims, 11 from Israel and over 1,000 in Iran, she warns there'll be one more if the Ayatollah's son is elected supreme leader. Will Israel assassinate him too?
Look, anyone who would threaten the annihilation of the State of Israel will be eliminated. We don't have any other choice.
War. Easy to start, always harder to finish.
Well, efforts to halt Donald Trump's war with Iran have been defeated in US Congress. To Rob Scott in Washington, DC. Rob, there was a key vote and it went the president's way.
Yes, Kim. Democratic lawmakers wanted to force Donald Trump to go through official channels to seek approval for his war with Iran, labelling it illegal. But their bid was shot down in the Senate. The vote broke largely along party lines, with Republicans falling in behind their leader.
Why is he plunging America headfirst into a war that Americans do not want and which he cannot even explain? We must act to stop Trump's belligerence.
Given this vote comes 5 days after the war began, it does very much feel like it's too little, too late. And that, as a fresh New York Times poll shows that Donald Trump's approval rating has fallen to its lowest level since he returned to office. Just 41% of Americans believe he's doing a good job, 56% disapprove of him. Those numbers reflecting a growing backlash to what's happening in the Middle East. Kim?
Okay, thank you very much there, Rob. Well, there was overwhelming relief at Sydney Airport as the first plane to make it out of the war zone and back to Australia touched down on home soil. It wasn't easy. Some spent more than $100,000 on cancelled flight after cancelled flight. But at the arrivals gate last night, it was all worth it.
At arrivals, after days fearing the worst.
I don't think I've ever felt so anxious, so worried.
Ready to welcome them home.
We're all very excited. It's a Love Actually moment for us.
Then, shortly before 10:30...
welcome back, Emirates. Here we go.
The first commercial flight out of Dubai and its relieved passengers.
Everyone was cheering and clapping. Quite emotional, yeah. Glad to be home.
Joy spilling over in the terminal. It had been a nervous journey.
A little bit, yeah, but the moment we're outside of the Dubai airspace and, you know, the whole kind of Middle East area, it was just happy.
Back to family.
Oh, I'm so relieved. I'm so happy to have him home.
The pressure of not knowing whether they would be safe, obvious.
She's back home. We're grateful.
Grateful and to come back home for my safety, for my family.
After being caught in a war zone.
FaceTiming some friends and they're asking me how I am. Next thing you know, the whole hotel shakes.
The impact of the experience still raw.
Pretty traumatic, hearing our entire house shake constantly, but we're here now.
Year 10 and 11 students from Sydney's Barker College trapped in Dubai on their way to a robotics event in Turkey.
We really came together as a team through this experience and supported each other well.
Parents were terrified.
It's amazing. Amazing. Very, very grateful.
We certainly feel for the other people that are still stuck there.
Tennis pro James McCabe had been playing in a Dubai tournament.
And the oil factory was going up in smoke and we were right next to it, so it was a bit scary.
Families living and working in Dubai, the best decision was to leave.
My husband's still there. We've got like our dogs, our home and stuff's over there, so it's a weird feeling.
One relieved family reunion had a well-known face involved. Former Seven presenter David Koch.
It's a huge relief. Like kids in a war zone, you realise how lucky you are living here.
It's been a lot, but we're absolutely delighted.
In Dubai, chaotic scenes at the airport show the challenge in getting a seat on flights.
Like begging all the Emirates staff to let us on because there was like a wait list.
Often only first class left, this American family arriving in Sydney after paying for a string of bookings.
$100,000 to get back home.
In the US, yeah. We're not done yet.
The lucky ones showing their thanks to Emirates staff. Another commercial flight's arriving in Sydney tonight from Dubai, the next touching down in Melbourne tomorrow morning. As Foreign Affairs sends a team of consular specialists to help guide stranded Australians in the Middle East.
There can be so much gold anywhere, but being home beats it all.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
Well, at a time when world superpowers are at arms, Anthony Albanese has warmly welcomed a crucial ally. Canada's Prime Minister has praised Australia as a strategic cousin, united in the face of seismic shifts to global order.
In a world beset by war, some friendly fire for a like-minded leader. Canada's Mark Carney sees a world not in transition but facing a rupture, a new world disorder in which middle powers need to collaborate to protect their interests against the powerful and unreliable.
Defence cooperation necessitated by a more divided and dangerous world.
Invited to address a special joint sitting of Parliament, the common theme, cooperation builds collective strength and shared security.
Australia and Canada are middle powers in a world that is changing. We cannot change it back.
Middle powers cannot simply build higher walls and retreat behind them. We must work together.
And Mr Carney says working together should come easily.
Canada and Australia are strategic cousins.
Building a more muscular alliance, signing agreements covering greater defence cooperation, critical minerals and technology, based on an essential element, trust.
In the post-rupture world, the nations that are trusted and can work together will be quicker to the punch.
Middle powers wondering if there really is a middle way between the tyranny of terror and Donald Trump's view that might is always right. Both leaders broadly supporting the strikes on Iran to deprive it of nuclear weapons and spreading extremism.
It's a regime that's exported terrorism for decades across the Middle East. It's reached the shores here.
Mr Carney, though, more forthright in questioning whether Donald Trump's ambition of regime change breaks international law, though united against the war spreading.
I think the world wants to see a de-escalation.
Shoulder to shoulder, flanked by each other's flags, a tradition borrowed from Canada by former Prime Minister Tony Abbott, now a symbol of a closer alliance between like-minded leaders of kindred countries.
Australian farmers say the Middle East conflict is rapidly driving up a threat to our food security, more dangerous than the choking of global oil supplies. Our crops rely heavily on fertiliser imported in large quantities through the same fraught shipping channel off Iran's south coast.
For farmers like Jacob Wright, Iran closing the trade-rich sea lanes through the Strait of Hormuz is doubly alarming. Yes, Tehran is throttling global oil.
To get the crop in the ground, the tractor's got to have diesel in it.
Perhaps worse, the Hormuz blockage chokes off almost 1/4 of the globe's traded nitrogen fertiliser, urea.
We're worried. We're worried that prices could double or triple. We're worried that we might not even be able to get it.
Expensive urea is bad. No urea is possibly catastrophic from a food security point of view.
Brendan Taylor fears already rising fertiliser prices will build up into a cost shock most Australians are simply not expecting.
It would absolutely flow on into the price of bread, into the price of beef and meat, chicken.
In Parliament today, blame trading over fertiliser.
It is a sad story that urea manufacturing closed while the member for Hume was Minister for Energy.
The government should be stockpiling fertiliser while at least we don't make it ourselves.
The Energy Minister says we do. 5 Wicks and 12 more privately held. The Minister also arguing we're well prepared with fuel. Others see that as nonsense.
How can it possibly be that we've got 2 small refineries working, now producing about 10% of what we need? What happened? What the hell happened?
Underlying the frailty of supply lines, the world's second largest container shipping company, Maersk, has suspended most of its shipping to and from 7 Middle Eastern countries, as the conflict around Iran feels closer to home. Tim Lester, 7 News.
And while the fighting is on the other side of the world, its impact is being felt much closer to home. Members of the Iranian diaspora in Tasmania say the conflict is deeply personal.
A story of terror from a regime that ruled with an iron fist. Iranian Tasmanian Miah recalling a heartbreaking conversation with her cousin after the Islamic Republic recently turned on its own citizens.
I never forget, he was like, there were so many bodies and we actually had to run over the bodies to save ourselves.
13,000 kilometres from the front line, here in Tasmania, the community is feeling the pain. Memories of loved ones, a reminder of what's at stake.
Scared and nervous and at the same time hopeful.
Contacting family proving difficult with the regime cracking down on communication.
Communication is very, very patchy, very limited. Internet is down.
But there's a sign of optimism.
When finally my country is free, I'm going to open that champagne. We're devastated, but with a lot of hope.
Hoping the US-Israel strike will lead to regime change. But closer to home, there was less talk about Iranian leadership and more of a focus on the impact on our local economy.
The rapidly escalating war in the Middle East will have significant economic impacts. Treasurer, do you agree that Tasmania's capacity to respond to this economic shock is next to zero?
The consequences of a global war is something with respect that I doubt any economist can and has modelled, because you never...
Order! A conflict afar with local ramifications. Alessandro Rossini, 7 News.
Formula One fever is sweeping Melbourne as fans go wild for their hometown hero Oscar Piastri on the first day of the Australian Grand Prix. Thousands queued at Albert Park for day one. Some had been there since 9:30 last night.
They queued for 12 hours, so when the gate opened, full throttle.
Go!
The mad race before the race, 1 kilometre to Melbourne Walk. Novan trained in his banana suit.
It's all about just getting a good start off the line, I reckon, and then it's elbows out until barricades.
F1 ruthlessness.
Why are you running?
Oh, to get there first.
Why is it so important?
To be better than everyone else, obviously.
All to get pole position here, where drivers like hometown hero Oscar Piastri meet those who idolise them.
It is pure, raw, interpersonal drama and stress and anxiety and skill.
The fever spread to South Bank. 4-time world champion Max Verstappen swamped.
Just looking forward to the weekend ahead.
Amongst the hype, a stark reminder of the times.
Insiders believe Formula One officials are now examining the prospect of relocating next month's Bahrain and Saudi Arabia GPs because of the Middle East crisis.
Melbourne an unlikely replacement because of a tight building schedule.
Commencing demolition of the pit buildings pretty soon after this race, and they're on a deadline to get it to stage 1 by the 2027 event.
All this and the F1 drivers don't hit the track until tomorrow.
It is pretty insane. Look, it's 4 days out of the year that I'm allowed to go a little psycho, right?
1.1% of the year.
Yeah.
Well, electric bikes and scooters are in the spotlight tonight after a series of dangerous and even deadly incidents. A push to get them off the road is next. Also ahead, the surprise reason a judge rejected the accused high country killer's bid for bail. And a lucky man dodges death as an elevator goes rogue. Accused high country killer Greg Lynn has lost his bid for bail as he awaits retrial for the murder of Carol Clay. Lynn wanted to live with his son while he awaited a murder trial, but the court heard the former pilot is a flight risk. The Jetstar pilot, or former one, was acquitted of killing camper Russell Hill in Victoria's Alpine region 6 years ago, and his conviction for killing Ms Clay was quashed on appeal. Police and the country's leading bike network are taking on Tasmania's e-bike hoons, cracking down on the new menace on our roads. There are also new calls for tougher laws to deal with illegally modified electric bikes and scooters.
An increasingly risky trend, electric bikes and scooters performing dangerous stunts, often ending badly.
Riding along, say, Sandy Bay Road, for example, on the back wheel. I've seen a video of a young rider, going across the Tasman Bridge on one wheel, passing a metro bus.
In the past week alone, police have condemned the actions of 40 Tasmanians, mostly around Devonport, for riding electric bikes, scooters or skateboards dangerously.
Not only is it really poor decision making, but they're the sorts of things that are going to end up with either fatal or serious injuries.
It's situations like this they're aiming to eliminate. A Devonport teen killed over Christmas after his electric bike struck a power pole.
People get the perception that e-bikes are the problem, but it is actually those illegal motorbikes that are pretending to be e-bikes that we really need to work with.
To get illegal e-bikes off the road, that's anyone that has capacity to go over 25 k's an hour. Bicycle Industries Australia says it's essential for tough reforms that would apply to all states.
It allows the police a very clear framework to operate. It allows the community a very clear regulation.
A local forum today hoped to power a conversation with local police. In the meantime, police want more powers.
The standard powers that relate to evading police or dangerous or reckless driving still apply in these circumstances, but realistically that's designed to apply to motor vehicles.
Ruby Cairns, 7 News.
A 19-year-old has been caught not once but twice drink driving in Sandy Bay overnight. Police say the teenager was first stopped around 1:45am, returning a reading of .122. His licence disqualified on the spot for 12 months. Just hours later, officers intercepted him again, still almost twice the legal limit. He now faces multiple charges, including drink driving and driving while disqualified. The opposition has declared its hand in support of firearms caps, seeking to override the state government's policy with the crossbench. Labor also tearing down the Premier's department shake-up as the Liberals continue spruiking it.
An opposition leader who's no fan of the Premier's State of the State plan, building the state by demolishing a key department.
Building Tasmania is building nothing.
Josh Willey moving in on crossbench support with a policy announcement of his own in his State of the State reply.
Introducing limits on the number of firearms that can be held by any one individual.
5 guns for recreational hunters, 10 for farmers and sport shooters, in line with the federal government's post-Bondi response.
Tasmania should not be an outlier on these reforms because this Liberal government lacks courage to act.
Greenlit by the Greens.
It seems that there's an appetite for this change. We will support and work with Labor on that measure.
Not surprisingly, it's not supported by the sole shooters, fishers and farmers politician, or Tasfarmers.
We see this as a betrayal to the rural community.
In the crosshairs of the Greens State of the State's response, political donations. They want them banned.
We've seen the South Australian Labor government lead the nation by introducing this reform. And I think if we look around this parliament, it's clear that there's no reason why Tasmania can't follow their lead.
I'll have a look at the proposal, but there may be more moderate proposals that could be put forward that will improve democracy as well.
At another construction site.
Some view, isn't it?
Hey, not bad.
The government continues its pitch for building Tasmania.
The feedback over the last couple of days has been enormous, very positive.
Hoping its foundations in minority don't fall from underneath it. Anthony Dodd, 7 News.
A man has cheated death after an elevator malfunctioned in India. As he was stepping out onto his floor, the lift suddenly surged upwards, giving him a fraction of a second to make it out without being crushed. He hit his head and stumbled forward, but wasn't seriously hurt. The incident is being blamed on an electrical fault. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and today the Prime Minister paid tribute to Dennis Cometti, using the broadcasting legend's own words.
The Magpies ought to be kicking themselves right now, but with their luck, they'd probably miss. There's Koutafides, more vowels than possessions today. Dennis inspired countless imitators, but he remained the best, a true original.
Dennis died at the age of 76. The war in the Middle East has left travel plans up in the air for thousands. Next on 7 News Tasmania, the expert advice for anyone planning a European getaway. And by land, sea and air, first responders sharpened their rescue skills in a realistic offshore exercise. Our top stories this Thursday. An overnight fire destroys a waterfront business in Launceston, including the landmark Tamer Marine building. Permits for the controversial salmon antibiotic florfenicol are revoked over trade export fears. The war in the Middle East escalates with the US torpedo strike sinking an Iranian warship near Sri Lanka. And closer to home, Iranians in Tasmania share horror stories from an oppressive regime. Australians are being advised to reconsider any Euro summer plans due to major disruptions to international travel. Experts warn there could be uncertainty for the next 5 months, and flight prices are likely to soar.
Home at last for William Kiah, lucky to score a seat on the first Emirates flight out of Dubai.
I've never felt a plane move that fast and, almost got thrown to the back of your seat.
For the rest of us, travel this year might not be as scary, but it could be costly.
The knock-on effect of increased fuel costs, reduced availability and new routing of routes will have an effect for the next 4 to 5 months.
People do need to think very carefully about their travel plans.
Airfares to Europe are climbing.
Economy fares are around that $5,000
return, and business are around the 17 or 18,000 at the moment.
The former head of safety at Qantas says flying through the Middle East will return to being safe. The question is when.
The airlines, in terms of their risk management systems and risk assessments, will always err on the side of safety.
Do not cancel. Wait for the airline to cancel your trip or cancel your flights.
Flying overseas in the next few months might require extreme flexibility and imagination, picking transit cities you wouldn't usually think of.
Some people I know are going via South Africa and some via the States.
The consumer watchdog warns $20 billion of infrastructure upgrades at Australian airports could also increase airfares as airports try to pay off the work. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Tasmania is no stranger to marine emergencies, where every second can mean the difference between life and death. To prepare for the unexpected, first responders have been tested in a simulation to prove they're ready for whatever is thrown their way.
Attacking an urgent mission from all angles. Dozens of personnel put through their paces in marine rescue training at 7 Mile Beach.
An exercise on a simulated light aircraft crash in the vicinity of the Hobart Airport to test the aerodrome emergency plan.
Police, Surf Life Saving and Ambulance Tasmania crews face an incident with 15 casualties.
Bring them all together so that we can see that the work that they do will actually work hand in hand and that we've got this under control if it actually happens.
The real-life scenario helping crews prepare for the worst.
If we have this incident in an uncontrolled environment and we haven't tested it before, it's very hard to have expectations as to what might be the fallout as a result.
Today's exercise vital in preparing for events similar to the light aircraft crash off Bass Strait in August last year. A Tasmanian couple took off from Georgetown, vanishing without a trace.
The initial search was quite intense over the first week of the plane being missing, and then as the search scaled back, it still went for about another 6 weeks.
Emergency services are thrust into these types of simulation exercise sessions on a regular basis, covering water, land and air rescue missions, with one common goal in mind.
We just want to get people to a place where they're safe, so essentially that's out of the water.
Rebecca Gaidaneris, 7 News.
All sides of politics will be peddling the same message next week for a good cause. The 19th Poly Pedal will be hitting the roads next Friday, raising funds and awareness for Diabetes Tasmania. Riders will cover around 300 kilometres over 3 days.
Quite a few hills, and we end up starting at Margate through Hobart all the way down to Port Arthur, and then of course we've got to get back again.
We have 32,000 Tasmanians living with diabetes, some 12,000 living with type 2 diabetes who aren't aware, and many, many more at risk.
Almost $900,000 has been raised since the event began in 2006. A popular jingle from the 1980s is being commended for saving lives. After the break, Slip, Slop, Slap success, how a TV campaign helped slash skin cancer numbers. And game set match for the world tennis number 1, Arina Sabalenka, engaged. An ambitious fundraising target of $300,000 has been set for Tasmania's largest sleep out, planned by Hobart City Mission for May. There are currently thousands on our social housing waitlist. Support services say it's a figure that will get worse, prompting desperate calls for funds.
We don't have enough housing. So what we're seeing is people who are living in inappropriate dwellings, living in their cars, and obviously we've seen an increase in people who are rough sleeping.
City Mission's encouraging schools to get involved this year by hosting their own sleep out. It was an anthem of the 80s, encouraging us to slip, slop, slap, and now proof it worked. Researchers have just wrapped a 25-year study into melanoma, finding young Australians are at significantly lower risk than their parents and grandparents.
When it comes to being sun smart, the year you were born,
2002,
reveals a lot about your risk.
We do put sunscreen on.
Yeah, we practice definitely always putting on sunscreen. Because before 2000,
1996,
1995,
times were different.
Tanning oil, no sunscreen, no hat.
I think I own sunscreen.
A sunburn country, but a lucky one too, because we now know these 3 words have slashed rates of skin cancer.
We think this is a real
triumph for public health advocacy.
Researchers at QIMR studied almost 4,000 Queensland children over 25 years.
There's this very interesting trend in the mole counts. The numbers are just about halved.
What changed was behaviour.
The most likely explanation has been the effectiveness of the sun protection campaign.
It means for people born after the year 2000, their risk of melanoma drops by about 75% compared to those of us born in the 80s. Courtney Mangan was, and at 29, this mole changed her life.
My entire 30s has been about cancer.
She's now 5 years cancer-free.
I had this horrible thing happen to me. I turned my lemons into skin checks.
A generational change and a gift to our children.
I paint her white with sunscreen.
For a brighter future. Amanda Abate, 7 News.
Let's take a look at the day's business and finance news, and it's brought to you by MCMF Investment and Lending. The Australian stock market has closed up, regaining some ground from a massive $63 billion wipeout. The ASX 200 index rose 39 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading around 70.5 US cents and 52 British pence. Well, congratulations are in order for tennis world number one Aryna Sabalenka, who just announced she's engaged to her boyfriend of 2 years. The Brazilian businessman got down on one knee a month after this not-so-subtle hint at the Australian Open.
Thank you to my boyfriend. Hopefully soon I will call you somehow else, right?
It worked, the Belarusian star quipping she can now call him finance. Well, Nick has sport now. Nick, it's come around quickly, but the AFL begins tonight.
Yes, and Charlie Curnow faces off against his old side, Kim. Also ahead, meet the local boxer whose first ever time in the ring is a professional bout. And Jackson Bird tears through the Shield ladder leaders at Ninja Stadium. It's come around in the blink of an eye. We're just an hour away from the season opener between the Swans and Blues. And the Swans enter the season in premiership contention and boasting the off-season addition of star forward Charlie Curnow. He'll play game 150 against his former Carlton side tonight at the sold-out SCG. 20-year-old Jagger Smith makes his debut for the Blues, and that's here straight after the news. Sam Darcy's been caught up in a game of cat and mouse ahead of Saturday night's Lions clash. The Bulldog superstar snuck out of Melbourne on an early flight hours after his coach played down his chances of facing the reigning premiers.
An AFL game yet to be played in 2026, but the selection games are already in full swing. Sam Darcy boarding an afternoon flight to Brisbane. Earlier this morning, Luke Beveridge tried to throw the Lions off the scent.
He came out of that game a bit sore, so he's had some interruption. He hasn't played since then, and he's missed some training. So his last month has been a spluttering month.
But the 22-year-old will face Brisbane after getting through training yesterday. The coach whacking suggestions Darcy will be the first to break the 100-goal barrier since Buddy in 2008, revealing he'll still use his blue-chip asset as a backup ruckman.
I'm not paranoid about PCL injuries, and I've said it to the AFL before. I reckon they've flinched too often in the past, where something's happened and they just change it.
10 years on from the club's finest hour, once again, they're daring to dream.
We've got to establish ourselves all over again as a team that is harder to play against than we were even last year.
Sam Mitchell kicked things off with a nod to the great Dennis Cometti.
The little sound bites of all the great moments that he commentated and brought to life, and sometimes you remember the moment, but you remember the commentary just as much.
A moment the Hawks would remember, last year's elimination final, beating GWS by 19 points.
Oh, well, I don't think they're going to play too different, so you probably look at that, look at how they beat us, what worked for them, what worked for us when we got going.
I'm yet to find anyone who's very confident in how they think their team is placed at this time of year.
Not long now until we all find out. Theo Duropoulos, 7 News.
Jackson Bird had the top of the table Wicks on high alert from the word go, taking 2 wickets for 0 runs in his first over.
2 wickets down in the first over. McDonald has to go. Webster takes the catch. Extraordinary scenes here at Ninja Stadium.
He'd finish up with 3, but Riley Meredith was on point 2, taking 4 wickets at Ninja Stadium. The visitors went for 222 on the first day. With no Jake Weatherald, who was ruled out with back spasms, Tassie's openers fared slightly better on the green pitch. They're 4 wickets down, trailing by 170 at stumps. Burnie International champion Enzo Aguad has been toppled by Chinese Taipei top seed Xu Yushou. After a battle in the first set, Xu won the second easily to progress to the quarter-final. Women's Burnie winner and reigning Launceston champ Lizette Cabrera survived a scare from Aussie wildcard Belle Thompson to stay alive. While in the battle of the Aussie qualifiers, Duje Makanova derailed Thomas Vanket's return to professional tennis. The Matildas are soaking up the Gold Coast sunshine before getting down to business tonight against Iran in the Asian Cup. Goalkeeper Mackenzie Arnold and star forward Mary Fowler all smiles on a team walk this morning. Australia will be hoping to make it 2 from 2 in the group stage after their opening win. The undefeated TNL run will come to an end for either the Hawks or Cavaliers when they face off in a Northern Derby tomorrow night. Under lights at St Patrick's will be a mental test after a full day of work and school.
You definitely find that you get frustrated a bit quicker if things aren't quite working out or you've done something wrong. It's hard to move on from those when you're not feeling so fresh, but that's why it's great to have depth in the team.
It's obviously been talked about a bit at school because it is at school at St Pat's, so I think there's quite a few people from school coming.
The Friday night game follows 2 back-to-back double headers. Launceston fighter Corey Sutcliffe is jumping right into the deep end, going professional in his first ever boxing bout. Somehow he has no nerves as he looks for a super lightweight title.
Not really, to be honest. I'm more excited than I am nervous, so I'm really looking forward to putting on a show.
You'll have brother Kane there for support, fighting on the same card, looking to repeat his second round stoppage at Dynamite in Deloraine.
We don't get paid overtime, so, you know, the quicker you can get out of there, the better. Once I step in there and that bell goes, there's no one else in there with us.
That's Saturday next week at Hobart Town Hall. Hobart's Alana Smith shot 11 points as her Miami Mist rocketed to a $600,000 payday at the unrivalled 3-on-3 tournament. Mist was inseparable against Phantom Basketball Club in the championship game in all but the third quarter, which is where they sealed the 6-point win. The Hobart Chargers' chances of getting an NBL star in their ranks have been dashed. 7 News can exclusively reveal Jack Jumpers guard Nick Marshall had signed with the NBL 1 team, but recently opted to pursue an opportunity over in Europe. There were fears his European adventure would collapse if the Jack Jumpers progressed through the finals tonight, but the window to arrive there has just been extended. The Chargers, however, say they'll welcome the 24-year-old back if that deal falls over. And it is, of course, a big night for the Jack Jumpers, who face Melbourne United in their first elimination final. Now, fingers crossed they can get up, Kim.
Going to have the JJs on the radio and the AFL on the telly, huh? It's going to be a big night. Thanks, Nick. Kiah Wicks is next with the weather forecast.
Good evening. A great shot here from Lake Trevally today. Now 28.3 was the high on Maria Island. The minimum was 6.4 at Laiwini at around 2 a.m. Across the state this Thursday, Launceston also 28, 27 in Friendly Beaches and Hobart, Ouse and Huonville 25, 24 in Burnie, St Helens 23, 22 across the islands, Smithton and Devonport, Strawn 20, Laiwini 1 degree behind with 19. Today, the west sat under a blanket of cloud which delivered almost no rain. It was partly cloudy too about the north, but mostly fine elsewhere, except for those gusty winds, which were a little more intense about the south. We can expect a few showers tonight, but they will ease tomorrow morning. We are in for more partly cloudy conditions. However, winds should settle. Tropical lows remain about northern Australia. They should start to shift across the coast. Across the nation tomorrow, windy in Cairns, 30 degrees, Alice Springs, Brisbane and Sydney all 29. One up in Canberra, 30 is the top, but partly cloudy there. Another fine day in Adelaide. To coastal waters now, west-northwesterly winds, 20 to 30 knots about the south, bringing afternoon sea breezes. Westerly swells increase to 5 metres. A strong wind warning has been issued for waters between Tasman Island around to Low Rocky Point. Friday incoming, 25 in Campania tomorrow, Sorell and Huonville 24. Hobart, Kingston and Dover 23, 22 in Port Arthur with light showers, 20 the top in Bushy Park. Partly cloudy skies remain about the north, 25 in Launceston, St Helens and Epping Forest 24, 23 in Scottsdale, Deloraine and Swansea, 19 for our 2 friends at Laiwini. Smithton, Burnie, Sheffield and Cradle Mountain 23, partly cloudy skies there however, showery in Zeehan and Queenstown 20 the maximum, Devonport and Tarraleah 21. Saturday, light showers about the west and the south, developing about the east throughout the evening. Light showers about the north on Sunday, but fine elsewhere. And for our public holiday on Monday, light showers about the north and west, becoming more widespread during the afternoon. Remaining dry in Hobart and Launceston until at least next Tuesday. A wet public holiday on Monday in Devonport and Burnie, which will extend to the rest of the week. 22 in Hobart, Launceston, Devonport and Burnie, all currently 20 degrees. I'm excited for the footy to be back. Can't wait to watch our Cats tomorrow night. How do you think those Eagles will fare this year, Kim?
Well, I think they can only go up, Kiah. That's all I can say about my Eagles. Thanks for your company tonight, everyone. The AFL is coming up next on 7 Tasmania. Thank you. Good night, everyone.